What's up, everybody? I'm John Middlekauff. You know what I need you to do. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. We got content for days reacting to every NFL game all the time, every single day. Subscribe, like the videos. Let's go.
I saw today that Anthony Richardson's agent, I think you got to be very careful. When you're a starting quarterback and a good player, you can say some things that piss people off. Your agent can say some things. I remember hearing a story when I was in the NFL, how Tom Condon and Bill Polian used to get into it. Tom Condon was Peyton Manning's agent and basically, drove a hard bargain. Peyton Manning liked his money. And I remember hearing a story, don't know if it's true or not, want to believe it, where Bill Polian basically hung up on him because he was screaming like, how do you expect me to build a team? And Tom Condon was like, more. Who knows if that's exactly how it went down, but I want to believe it. And Peyton Manning had that juice. So if his agent wanted to piss off the GM, he could. Same with Tom Brady, same with Patrick Mahomes, same with Aaron Rodgers, same with great players in their prime. You know who no one ever wants to hear from? Really a couple people. The kicker, the punter, the long snapper, and the backup quarterback. That's why most backup quarterbacks we never hear from. The Chicago Bears just gave Tyson Bagent 2 years, $10 million. You know why? They love the guy. Ben Johnson was singing his praises like a week ago. I saw Ryan Poles during the Bills game, the preseason game, was in the booth, and I wasn't watching live, but I saw the headline that he said he's the hardest working guy on the team. But they just love the guy. And that's how any guy, Chase Daniels had a 14-year career as a backup, started a career 5 games in his life, played in the NFL for 14 years. You know why? Guys liked him. Guys loved him. You know who one of Andy Reid and the Chiefs' favorite players was? Chad Henne, backup quarterback. Because you basically become like an assistant coach. You're there to service the starting quarterback, help him out during the week, service the defense, and just being a good vibe guy. Yet Anthony Richardson, I think, is going to be tough for him to come to grips. Not Anthony Richardson, maybe. I mean, he believes, I'm sure he's a starter. But, you're a backup, bro. That's who you are. And honestly, there's nothing wrong with that. You can have a long career. And maybe he could become a starter. But you went from being a starter to now you're a backup. And let's face it, he wouldn't start for any team in the league in 2025. Right now, he would not start for any team in the league. He needs a lot of work to be done. And hopefully, for his sake, like a Sean McVay and Andy Reid, someone like that, trades for him and just works with them on the side while their starter and their team plays. But his agent got a little mouthy today. I saw some quotes on ESPN.com, and I was like, I don't know if that's a great idea. I had them pulled up, and then here's what Anthony Richardson's agent told ESPN. We have a lot to discuss. Trust is a big factor, and that is at best questionable right now. Anthony came back and made the improvements in the areas he needed to improve. And by all accounts, he had a great camp. Steichen made a decision. That's the decision we got to live with, but no hard feelings, nothing personal. I just think that was Anthony Richardson saying that Steichen made the decision, nothing personal. Meanwhile, his agent saying, by all accounts, he made the improvements. I didn't know his agent was on the coaching staff. I didn't know he was the assistant GM. How the fuck would he know that? But most importantly, sometimes you become the company you keep. And this guy works for Anthony Richardson. Anthony Richardson doesn't work for this guy. And Anthony said all the right things after getting benched. But when you're the backup quarterback, you don't want your agent saying things like this. It does not help your case. And to me, someone, ideally Anthony Richardson, but someone in Anthony Richardson's life would tell him to get on the phone with his agent and say, don't ever say that again. Don't ever speak for me publicly again. And maybe he's speaking for him because Anthony Richardson is not going to say this publicly because he can't. But this is not a good look. And this is what you got to be very careful of. Last year, you had a moment that, by all accounts, based on all the former players, the most embarrassing moment in the history of the NFL. He just tapped out in the middle of a game at quarterback. Unheard of, unprecedented. Just because he was tired. Not because he was injured. He needed a sip of water. Every player was fell out of their chair. They couldn't believe it. People were like, Lamar Jackson runs 1,000 yards a game all around, And I've never even seen him remotely been like, hey, I need a blow. But and I believe that's when his career unofficially ended for the Colts. You got to be careful because if you start being viewed as a backup developmental player, say this for Trey Lance. He might not be a great football player and never lived up to the hype clearly for being a top pick. There's not much drama there. There's no complaining there. There's not people bitching and moaning there. And when you do that, it's like anything in life. You become exhausting. You become, it's like, those needy friends. Those I don't really do needy people in my life. I think that's why me and Colin get along really well and have a great working relationship. Both of us are just, we don't need shit. Just tell me when, where. I'm not going to ask many questions. I'm very easy to deal with. I'm not that complicated. I'm very low maintenance in the sense of like, I'm not asking for much. And I think that's what I want on my backup quarterback. So I think Anthony Richardson's agent did his clients a major disservice because now it's like, I don't think it's a lock Anthony Richardson's on the team come week 1 because you can have him as a backup. That doesn't make much sense.
The rivalries, the marching bands, the upsets. Saturdays just got way more fun. College football is back, baby. Think you know the game? Put your college football knowledge to the test with DraftKings Sportsbook and turn your picks into big payouts. From live betting during the rivalry week odds boosts and so much more, DraftKings Sportsbook has everything you need to stay in the action from the kickoff to the final whistle. Here's the thing. We got a top 25 matchup happening this week in Ireland. Iowa State taking on K-State. I've been listening to a lot of people. My guy Josh Pate, Iowa State, a little bit of a sleeper this year. You can get them right now. Odds are subject to change. Kind of like Iowa State +3 this week. Across the pond, Iowa State +3. I think I'm going to hammer it. So here's something special for first-timers. New customers, bet just $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use the code JOHN. That's code JOHN for new customers. Get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5. In partnership with DraftKings Sportsbook, the crown is yours. Okay, final week of the season for LIV Golf wraps up a little Midwest swing starting in Chicago, where I attended, then went to Indianapolis and finishes up this week with the team championship. John Rahm won the individual title, 18 milli, beat out Joaquin Niemann, who won 5 times this year. And now we go to the team championship, which got a little Ryder Cup feel, going match play the first couple days, singles and foursomes, to heading into the final day where it'll just be normal stroke play. And John Rahm obviously won the individual title. I like Legion 13, his squad, to win the whole thing and just keep collecting those checks and finish out the season in Michigan before guys like John Rahm, Bryson DeChambeau, and Terrell Hatton head to the Ryder Cup here in a couple weeks in New York at Bethpage, where I kind of like the Euros. But, yeah, should be a fun week in Michigan. Hopefully anyone there enjoys it. It's been a good little Midwest swing for the team championship. Another thing I think with quarterbacks, a lot of people have been saying this. I got a text today from an NFL buddy because we did a segment on the television show about Collins show, that Burrow, like, is he going to ask for a trade after this season? Is this season going to be the one that breaks the camel's back and the floodgates open and Burrow goes like full NBA player, like, get me the hell out of here? And maybe that's true because if you watch the Monday night game, their defense looks atrocious. I think it's easier to overcompensate for average personnel and out-scheme people on offense than it is defense. Like, you can either make open field tackles or you can't. You can either rush the passer or you can't. Like, there is a physical component to defense that, like, I'm dictating where I'm going on offense. On defense, I'm just following you. Right? It's a lot harder. If my corners can't play, my corners can't play. And the stat, I mentioned this yesterday, is that Trey Hendrickson accounted for almost half the Bengals sacks. So their defense sucked last year. This guy was dominant. He accounted for half the sacks. You remove him, their defense is going to be really bad. Now, I think at the end of the day, he's going to end up playing. But even if this goes poorly and Joe Burrow has another 45 touchdown season, he's remarkable, team misses the playoffs, fire the coach, he could go, it's time for me to leave, send me to a real organization. We've seen this before. Carson Palmer was on the show today.
Carson Palmer once told Mike Brown, "I'm done playing here, trade me." And Mike Brown said, "Kiss my ass," and Carson Palmer retired. Like, that happened. You think Mike Brown 20 years later, maybe a little less, 17, 18 years later, older, more stubborn, is going to be like, "Oh yeah, Joe, I'll just trade you to the Rams for a couple first round picks"? No chance. Absolutely zero, especially after he just paid the wide receivers. So now the reality is Joe Burrow accepted his contract. And who knows? Maybe they end up, their defense a little better and they win 10 games. But one thing with football that will never change, you can win games with an elite offense, but you cannot beat real teams and especially win playoff games or bowl games or conference championships if your defense just blows. Because in the biggest games, you're playing the best teams. And typically the best teams are well-rounded. So Mike Leach's best teams at Washington State or at Texas Tech, their fundamental flaw was always going to be offensively, they might be able to hang with any team, but defensively, they just weren't going to be good enough. They had no chance. And that's how it kind of feels. And personnel issue. So offensively, I think the Bengals are going to be awesome. I think defensively, though, they are going to have major issues.